Hello guys, my name is Nur Hazrin. For this project, I created two visuals based on the poem The Raft. The poem talks about a group of brave friends building a raft from bamboo, working together to survive the roaring currents, a symbol of unity, struggle, and resilience. My first piece is titled Taming the Current. It shows a pixelated raft floating through digital water, symbolizing peace reflections. And the second visual is called Drift of Memory, shows a group of friends working together with poles, standing strong in the middle of chores. I choose glowing outlines and movement effect to reflect their unity and energy. These are two visuals I create, and after this my partner Iris will continue by presenting her two visuals, which is connected interpretation of the same poem. So this is our first project, which is Taming the Current. So I use a movie file to import the image, and then I use speed, and then I use resolution, and then I use a level, and then I use color. The color is just used to bring out the natural tones of the water. And then I use noise to apply displacement and noise to the water, like creating a ripple effect. And then I use bloom to adjust the contrast, the intensity, the threshold, and then the bloom level. And then I use transform, now, feed, again, and then now. And it is for audio. And for the audio, I use the audio file in, and then audio file out, maths, audio spectrum, analyze, and then envelope, maths again, limit, triggers, and then now, and then lag, and then maths, and then envelope, maths again, and then speed, and now. And then I drag now to the noise to make it reactive to the audio. And then at noise, I put apps time.second at the app so that the movement not too slow and not too speed. So move to the second project, which is Drift of Memory. So for this one, I make it simple. So as usual, I put a movie file in top and start importing the image. So I use htop. This operator extracts the outlines of the figures, echoing the poem's imagery of friendship and the tension of holding the raft together. And the glowing edges symbolize the energy and connection. And then I use the level top to adjust the brightness and contrast, making the outlines more dramatic, mirroring the high emotion and intensity of the journey. And I use the composite top to layers and positions the process image. And then additional notes like blur and then displace, I use it for enhance the sense of depth, shadow, and motion. Also fine-tune the integration of the image. And then the subtle details have convey the horrible waters and the bravery of the friendship facing them. Also, the reason why I choose this color, I want to make it as the dominant color to represent the deep, dangerous waters around the raft. This gives the feeling of depth, mystery, and the struggle based on the poem.
Hi, my name is Iris, and today I'm going to be doing the second part of the final project. I did two visuals which represent the poem that we chose, which is called The Raft, and each visual is based on different parts of the poem, and I will be expressing them through movements and interaction, and I will be showing you the design process on how it's made and how it relates to the poem. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with my first visual. This visual is gonna be a hand tracking one, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like before we start explaining. So this is what it looks like, and as you can see, it's hand tracking. It moves when I move my hand. And I'm gonna show the design process and how it's made. And I will be also telling you how it relates to the poem at the end. So let's get started. Okay, so first we got the media pipe for the hand tracking. And then we've got the normalized data. So we got two hand tracking parts. I'm gonna start with this part first. So for this part, it is for moving the water, as I've shown before this. So you can see my hand, right? You see when I move my hand, it will move to the other side. So I move it to the left, it will move to the left. And then when I move it to the right, it'll move to the right. So I'm gonna be explaining that part. So first I add a null, and then I select, and then I select the hand one wrist. And there's different types, as you can see. But since I want it to move with my whole hand, I picked the wrist. So I also need to show my wrist when I want to move it. And then I pick a logic and a math from 0.5 to 1. And then a switch. And then math. Another math from -11 to 11. And then we connect it to the flex solver. We connect it to the gravitational acceleration. So that it can move from left to right, depending on how you move your hand. And then for the second part of the hand tracking, this part is where, okay. So for this part is when I open my palm, it will start to basically explode, but like where the waters are very chaotic and very strong. So for this part, it is the gestures part. And then I have the null where all the different gestures are. And then I pick the open palm, hand one, closed fist, hand one, and another open palm. And then a math from 0.26 to 0.46. And then a lag, 0.2. And then another null, which we then connect to the flex solver again. But we connect it to the particle radius so that it can expand. And then next, I forgot to mention that there's also keyboard ins where when I press S on the keyboard, it will disappear. And then when I press F to fill in the box. So yeah, there's also that. And then that's all for the hand tracking part. And then we go over to the actual part where we create the water. So first, we start with an actor. And then inside the actor, we put a sphere. We change the type to polygon so that it isn't taking up too much. And then the radius, we change it to 0.15. And then we add a Phong to the actor so that the color will be blue, just like water. And then we add a flex solver. And then that's all for the water part, creating the different small particles, as you can see. And then we move on to the box. So first we put a box, and then the geo. And the reason we put this box is that so the water doesn't go flying into nowhere. So that's why we create this box. And now we add a geo, and then a line so that we can just see the lines and not the white box. And then we connect all of this to our render. Of course, we add camera and then light, and then another light just so it looks more like water, and then a null, and then a transform, and another null. Oh, for the transform, it's so that you can make the background color black. And then a null, and then this is also optional. This is also when I wanted to add color before I added the font, but I think it looks better without it. As you can see here, it looks a bit unrealistic for me, but yeah. And then the outs, and then yeah. So that's all. I'm gonna show you again on how it moves. So we're gonna stop the fill. So we press F again, and then we want to move it to the right. So we move our hand and our wrist to the right, and then we want to move it to the left. And then when I open my palm, I'll create this explosion. So how does this visual relate to the poem? The visual is based on the rough, unpredictable waters, which is described in the poem. As you can see, a strong raft is built to face roaring currents, and also trying to tame the horrible waters, which is talking about the strong waves. The shifting waves represent the emotional and physical challenges that the friendship goes through in the story. What makes the visual so unique is the interaction, how it responds to hand movements. This reflects the moment in the poem where the friends use poles to guide their raft, showing how they work together to stay balanced. By letting us, the viewer, interact with the water, the piece adds a personal connection. It's about more than just chaos. It's about the strength and teamwork needed to move through it together. And that is all for my first visual. So now I'm going to be starting my second visual, and I'm going to show you how it looks like before we start. And this one is a audio reactive visual. So yeah, that is what I'm going to be explaining about. So first we have the audio input, where we start with the audio file in and the audio file out. We have it on bypass. And then we connect the audio file in into a math. And then the audio spectrum, analyze, envelope, and a math, limit, the trigger. This is another null. And then a lag, a math, an envelope, another math, is the speed, and a null, which we then connect to the ramp, and then we put it in the phase. This is where the movement takes place. Even without the noise and like the audio, it will still move in a ripple type of way. Like when the water drops and you see the ripple. And if you like put like an apps time dot second, you see it will also still have that ripple effect. It's just that with this one, it connects to the audio. And then we've got the ripple part, the visual part basically. So first we start with a GLSL, and then a noise. Originally, I wanted to connect this noise movement into the noise, but it's started to make my FPS really, really low. Like as you can see, it turned into a 5. So I can't do that. But thankfully, we have the ramp. And then you've got a reorder. We got the ramp for the ripple part and a math. And then we combine the noise and the math to a reorder. So output blue will be input 2 instead of input 1. And then a position, which we then connect to the geo instance translate. We put RGB in the translate XYZ. And then we've got an add, a convert, particles per point, and then connect it to a geo. And the reason why it's purple, you can see at the end, the lighting is kind of purple. Actually, the water is purple. It's just that the ramp is what makes it look blue because of the lighting. And then the point sprite, which we then connect to the geo, and then car material. And then we render. And then we have the rectangle. This is basically just the background. Rectangle, geo, render. And then we have the ramp to make it look better, colored. And then we have a camera so that we can change the position on how it looks. And then we have the lookup and then the outs. And yeah, that's basically it. And so for this one, how this relates to the poem is that it's more of an abstract approach to the poem. And like instead of the first visual where it's all chaotic and kind of messy. This one, it focused more on the emotional flow of the water and the unity within the group of friends. The spiral movement and the blue tones reflect a sense of rhythm, connection, and resilience on how the friends, despite being tested by nature, move together as one. This visual is also audio reactive, which means it responds to the audio that I put it in. And that just adds another layer of connection, which shows how the environment, like the rush of waters or voices, shapes the journey. So while the first visual focuses more on the struggles, this one shows more of the harmony and strength found within the shared experience. And that will be all from me. Thank you so much. And that will be it. So thank you.